Hey, what's up everyone? I'm back on my Technomancer class with the new marksman build I created, allowing you to kill some of the toughest enemies in the game with just a few shots. Don't forget to subscribe to see more Outriders content on a weekly basis. Also have a Discord set up for anyone looking for people to play with. The link to that will be in the description down below. That's all of that, so let's dive into the build, starting off with our weapon. We're only going to be using one weapon for this build, and that being either the legendary Rayrog's Gaze, I most likely mispronounced that as usual, or a purple rifle with the standard variation. The attributes you'll want are crit damage, status power, and long range damage. Status power seems like a weird attribute to have on for a firepower build, but it's actually quite the opposite in this case. Status power is going to boost the duration of how long enemies will remain frozen for, giving me more crowd control, which is a huge part of this build, making it easier to land those critical headshots. Moving on to the mods, I went with Dark Sacrifice for a huge weapon buff that's always activated, and Anomaly Enhancement, which increases my firepower by 40% of my anomaly power. You can swap this out for Bone Shrapnel to get more area of effect damage, but you would be sacrificing a good amount of single target damage for that. Me personally, if I'm playing as a marksman or a sniper class, I like to have the most single target damage for instant kills, but that's completely up to you. That's everything covering the weapon, so let's hop over to the armor. For my headpiece, I went with the Borealis helmet that comes with the attributes of bonus firepower, status power, and long range damage. Bonus firepower and long range damage are the main desired attributes. If you get status power or cooldown reduction on other pieces of armor, that's perfectly fine because both are really good. With the mods, it came with twins giving me an additional cryo turret to throw out. I said it right this time because in an earlier video I made using this skill, I kept calling them Cyro turrets. So shout out to Dappeldane for calling my illiterate ass out. The second mod I equipped is Captain Hunter, just to increase the damage I do to elites. Going to the chest piece, you can use whatever purple rarity with the attributes of bonus firepower, either status power or cooldown reduction, and long range damage. I wasn't able to get long range damage, but I got cooldown reduction, so not the worst, but long range damage would be nicer. Then, for the mods, I chose Ice Component to let my Blighted turret spread freeze instead of toxic, and Hidden and Dangerous, which is a mod you don't see too much of. It increases my firepower by almost 50,000 while being in cover. A mod you could replace that with would be Radical Therapy or High Velocity Bullets, because some pod rescues actually don't have any cover you can hide behind to get the mod activated. Usually they're the beast pod rescues, just a little heads up. When I explain later on how to use this build to its fullest potential, everything will make a lot more sense, so just stay tuned for that. Next up, we have the Borealis legs with the perfect attributes of bonus firepower, status power, and long range damage. For its mods, I changed the first one up and replaced it with Euthanizer to increase my damage against enemies afflicted by toxic, and left the second mod Freezing Boost to increase my damage against frozen enemies. The third piece of the Borealis set to get the active bonus increasing my damage against frozen enemies by 90%, the gloves, having the attributes of max health, cooldown reduction, and long range damage. I can't change max health, but it does help out with being able to take more damage, which is always nice. It came with another mod that increases my damage to frozen enemies, Shatter. Any enemy that's frozen is going to take an insane amount of damage with all of these mods and legendary set bonus. The second mod I swapped out for Bloodlust, just to increase my firepower. The last piece of armor left is the boots with any kind of purple rarity. The attributes I have on are bonus firepower, cooldown reduction, and long range damage. The first mod up is Trick Up the Sleeve that replenishes 30% of my ammo on kills while Blighted Rounds is activated. Toxic Lead wouldn't be a bad replacement for it, getting 40% of your ammo back, but I found that with online play, Trick Up the Sleeve works a lot better and smoother. The second mod is Sharp Eye, just like Bloodlust being used to increase my firepower. That's everything for the weapons and armor, so let's move over to the skills. First skill up is Blighted Turret, being used to spread freeze to stun enemies, then doing increased damage against them because of all the frozen damage boosts I have on. Also, I receive a weapon damage boost whenever I throw it out. The second skill is Cryo Turret, being used in the exact same way as Blighted Turret, freezing enemies to give me crowd control, then doing increased damage to those frozen enemies. The only difference between the two skills is that I have a mod that allows me to throw an additional Cryo Turret, but I don't get a weapon damage buff when I do throw it out. Still a really amazing skill for this setup. Last skill up, as everyone expected, Blighted Rounds, being used to increase my damage and keep my ammo full to avoid reloading completely. The way you want to use this setup and skills is by placing yourself at the highest spot in the map to give yourself the most range and sight over all the enemies. Make sure you take cover so you can get a firepower boost from the mod Hidden and Dangerous. Then just throw all of your turrets out in front of you, kind of creating a spread out line, so no enemies can run past them without becoming frozen to become easy pickings while you're high up taking everyone down. Kind of like setting up a fortress. That's everything for the skills, so let's hop over to the class tree. I was mainly focusing on grabbing every node that would increase my weapon damage, increase damage, and a little bit of anomaly power since there isn't any other nodes worth grabbing, and I get a firepower boost from that anomaly power because of the mod Anomaly Enhancement. You'd actually be really surprised how well this build works even in online play, because you offer a ton of crowd control with all of your freezing, and also a huge amount of burst damage while being able to cover most of the area in a pod rescue. Just remember though, positioning is very key with this setup, so don't forget that. That's everything for today's video. If you think there's something I could change or add to improve this build, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to join the Discord if you're looking for more people to play with. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.